welcome to Connect to Success. I am your host, Ashley Owens, your personal networking concierge on RVN TV, 12:30 on Thursdays during your lunch break, where we interview the power networkers of the entire world, because we've got Zoom now and virtual is a thing. I have the pleasure and the privilege of introducing Miss Kirsten Toler of KMT Consulting. Miss Kirsten, first of all, your makeup is fabulous.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I had it done today, and I was so excited about that. And the beautiful soul that did my makeup and I have like major connections that we made in discussing our personal.
You're networking before you're coming on the networking show? I'm a little jealous. I'm a little jelly about that, because this is the first time you and I are actually sitting down and having a conversation.
Yes.
We just saw each other on a networking call the other day.
Yes.
And then I learned some really cool things about you. So before we go into your business, can we talk about your metal obsession?
Yes.
Okay, talk about that for a second.
So everybody has like an outlet, right?
Yeah.
I'm a very musical person. I like all different kinds of music. But for some reason, metal is like a release.
Wait, you're a CPA.
I am.
And metal, when you said, everybody I think on the call lost their minds a little bit, but it was like, but you're a cool CPA. Like it's pretty awesome. So yes, sorry, continue with your music.
So through like the years, you know, I listened to like the more mainstream metal, you know, like the Metallicas, the Megadeths, the Anthrax, the Slayer. And then I discovered a love for Swedish death metal.
I know Swedish death metal. The fact that I know that is a little crazy.
So like I've seen the band Amon Amarth like 5 times. I've seen Catatonia. I've seen, I could go on and on, but I've seen some like really cool.
Wow.
So years back, I used to run, which I absolutely hate running now, but I used to run, and I would pop my headphones on. And there was a certain point in this one song that was on my running playlist where the lead singer of Amon Amarth would enter like this growl, like he would just yell, and I would take off like a shot. It was like my medicine. But I was telling Jennifer, who made me look so lovely, my kids learned at a very early age that when mom was in her office and the door was closed and Swedish death metal was playing, not to knock on the door. Go find dad. You need a glass of water? Go find dad.
On fire, go find dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Are you bleeding? Dad.
Well, let's go into that. So you have this office because this is your company, KMT Consulting.
Yes.
So tell people who you are,
okay,
what you do, and what makes your company awesome.
Okay. So I'm a CPA by trade. I've been a CPA for over, 25 years. And I have basically done tax my entire career. So I kind of started out, which I could talk about a little bit later, but my focus has always been on small businesses and the people that own them. I spent a lot of time in, I don't know, the time period for which I've operated my own business it kind of has its own history too. But for a while I worked elsewhere and then had my practice on the side.
Oh, okay.
I say it was my side check.
Yes.
So I had this practice, and I was always able to kind of work it because while my kids were little, I was working, you know, like abbreviated hours, and so then I would find that I missed the interaction with clients, and so then I would find that the story really is, my husband, who was my fiance at the time, he was going to school for nursing. He was a nursing assistant at Lourdes Hospital in Camden. He came home one day, and I had just passed the CPA exam. This is like, you know, mid to late 90s, dating myself. And he said, babe, can you do people's tax returns? And I had left public. I started in public accounting right out of college. That's what everybody's supposed to do. And then I left because at the time, I didn't really feel as a female that there was, like, I didn't understand what my path was.
Right.
So I went in and worked in private industry. And having this CPA license now was kind of like, well, what do I do with it? So I told him I could. So he sent a couple people that he worked with who needed their taxes done to me. And so 5 turned into 13, turned into 30. And the next thing you know, I have this little practice that's all mine, right? And I was raising my kids and, you know, also working elsewhere. But I found that I had a real connection with small business owners. You know, sometimes you're a therapist, sometimes you're listening, you know, they're frustrated about a certain transaction, or they're having trouble with a vendor, or they're just having trouble figuring out how to balance, like, I really want to leave my 9 to 5 and go into practice for myself. You know, I still have a client who's a psychiatrist, And he's a wonderful, kind human being, and he was struggling because he had this need to develop his practice and then had some fears behind that. But my specialty is small business, so I work with a lot of people in small partnerships, S corporations, and a lot of sole proprietors.
Wow. And so when you're working with the sole proprietors, when someone calls you, what problem are they typically having, and then what do you end up working with them on?
Could be a lot of different things.
Right.
I've had people come to me where they wanted to start their own business. And so they would say to me, I have no idea how to do this. And I would say, okay, let's look at what is it that you want to do? Do you have a name for your business?
Yeah.
Like kind of delve into why they want to do this. The beautiful thing about small business owners is that they have a passion for something and they figured out how to monetize it.
Isn't that crazy though to think about, like, when we were growing up as kids, like to even think about, oh, my passions will get me paid, or my interests will get me paid, or I can live off of this. I mean, you're into music. I was in the theater, like
My kids do theater.
Oh, do they really? Oh gosh, my heart breaks for them right now because of how everything's shut down. But there is a pivot or a shift in your mindset of being confident enough in yourself, but also having the means to be able to find the right resources, the right people to make that dream happen.
Scary.
It's horrifying.
It's scary.
It's horrifying. So how do you relinquish those fears with your clients?
I try to just talk to them about what they want to accomplish.
Right.
You know, some people are very happy having a small business that they have a dog walking service. And so they know that, you know, they're not going to make $1 million walking dogs, but they love animals. And they have 5 or 6 friends that are willing to work with them and take some of the shifts of walking the dogs. And then I have other clients who, you know, start a small environmental, you know, rehabilitation business because they enjoy that satisfaction. But all of a sudden that industry takes off and they find themselves, you know what, I really want to grow this more. What do I need to do? Well, are you going to pay people payroll? Yes. Okay, let me connect you with someone who's going to help you do that. Really listening to what people need and then taking that seriously in order to help them connect with what they need to facilitate that is really what it's about. You have to listen. You have to be willing to listen.
So who was that for you when you started the business?
It's an interesting question. I kind of just started by accident. It was a love that I had. I was passionate about working with people, and I have this nerdy skill. So I thought, wow, this is something that scares people. Doing taxes scares people.
Taxes, politics, and sex are all things that people are, it's very sensitive topics.
Yes, yes. And so people tend to get nervous about
religion.
that. And religion. There's the Pentaveret or the Quataveret, whatever it is. That was what I kind of noticed, is that people were really nervous about it.
Right.
And God forbid you get a love note from the IRS, that's what I call them. People are like, oh my God, the IRS. The fact of the matter is, the IRS is run by human beings. And at some point, it's just about communicating. The more that I can share that with other people, it's just very satisfying just to be able to do that. But I never really had anyone say to me until recently, like, wow, you really need to be doing this. Like this needs to be what you're doing.
Isn't that just the affirmation that you don't even know you need until you hear it?
Yes.
It's like, oh, I'm doing something right.
Yes.
Because when you're working for somebody else, you're always doing something wrong.
Always.
Always. And you don't ever feel like, okay, am I going down the right path, or are they just tolerating the fact that I exist and that I'm on payroll?
Right.
It's crazy. So I can definitely empathize with that. So being a business owner, and especially working with something as sensitive as money, where do you think, and in your advice, so please make this a teachable moment, because you're the subject matter expert in that. Where do you think that new business owners, considering that you work with a lot of small businesses, where do they, when they come to you, what could they avoid on their own before they need really deep help?
You're right. The one thing that I've seen, I've had clients come to me after they've been in business for a while and working with another, tax advisor. And one of the biggest pitfalls that I've seen is when people are owning a small business and they're either A, trying to do everything themselves. So they're doing their bookkeeping, they're doing their payroll, they're trying to do the back office of a business, when really what they're selling is like artwork, or they're running a restaurant, or they're doing all these other, they're manufacturing clothing in like a boutique setting. If you're doing all of that, you're taking time away from the thing that you started to do this in the first place. And a lot of times it's born of fear. People, they don't want to spend the money. And I really encourage clients, honestly, if that's how you feel, then do that for a while. Understand your business. There is more to what you're doing than the actual product or service that you're delivering. That back office stuff, though, kind of tells you how the business is doing.
Right. Not how you feel about it, but how it actually is. What's
right.
actually happening.
There's a real pragmatic side to running a business. It's great to be passionate about what you're doing, and if you're a super creative person and you're putting this like creative product out into the world, that's amazing. But you also really should understand that if you're a business owner, there is a business side to it, and you need to know that. So probably the biggest thing that I encourage clients to do is, from the beginning, line up with a trusted advisor. Line up with somebody that's going to kind of give you direction. If you're not looking to pay someone else to do that, at least talk to somebody that you trust, like a professional that you trust, right? Who can kind of guide you in that process. The biggest issue is if a client has, let's say, registered their own business, right? And 3 years later, they're getting tax notices because something about the registration wasn't correct. Now they're unwinding a whole lot of pain. When if they had maybe asked somebody up front, because everybody will tell you, oh, you can look that up online. Oh, you can figure out how to do that online. And it's true. There's a bazillion options out there, right? But you really need to find someone, in my opinion, that you trust.
And with that trust comes something that is very close to people's chest, right? Because most of the time, small businesses or entrepreneurs, they will have their business as their baby. So letting somebody see in maybe their financial troubles, or the fact that they didn't make what they made last year, or now we've got the PPP loan coming into play, and nobody has any freaking clue what's going to get tax reduced on that, right? And so, but you having the wherewithal to be like, yeah, nobody knows. But we're gonna prep for every option.
Sometimes that's actually comforting. Like clients will come to me and say, oh my God, I missed a deadline. All right, well, here's the story. You didn't really miss the deadline. Yesterday they announced a change, or they haven't quite come up with a plan yet. This year, the word of this year, I think it's Time Magazine. Well, dumpster fire, yes. But I think Time Magazine, or maybe it's the, whoever makes the dictionaries, there's that Merriam-Webster, like they put like a new word, or like they make a word of the year like in their lexicon. It's got to be pivot. It's got to be pivot. I want to see like Ross Keller's face, like with the sofa, like the Friends reference, pivot. Like that's what I want to see. But that's the word. And I think a lot of people have had to become comfortable with some element of discomfort because nobody knows. So you have to be flexible enough to pivot and say, okay, maybe this is what I got to kind of leave this here, but I know I'm strong in this space, so let me kind of navigate this for a little bit and wait and see what happens. There's a lot of wait and see.
Well, I love that that pivot analogy, and we're going to come back in just a minute, but we're going to talk to Kirsten about how she pivots into a networking conversation, how she pivots out of a networking conversation. But most often, I love asking people who are in heavily saturated markets, how do you network? So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
A temple owl. Meet Stella. She's wise, fierce, and she's not alone. Temple University, where owls call home. We are the cherry and white, the city is our classroom, and we lead the rush hour, making our mark on every field around the world. A world without Temple, well, that's like the sky without the North Star. Temple, never stopping.
The family law firm of Shemtab Dragonovsky Taylor will help you move through and beyond your divorce. We are a full-service boutique family law firm located in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania. We handle cases in Montgomery County, Chester, Bucks, Delaware, and Philadelphia counties. We have 6 highly experienced lawyers and have represented clients for more than 30 years regarding these issues. Our clients depend on us to sort through the complicated issues involved in divorce and division of assets, spousal and child support, and custody. We listen to them, we gather the information, and we help them make informed decisions. We pride ourselves in our knowledge and our experience. We try to settle cases when we can, but we zealously advocate for our clients at trial as experienced and successful litigators. If you need help on any of these family life issues, please call us for an appointment at 215-542-2105 or check us out on our website at www.shemtoblaw.com.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom?
Welcome back to Connect to Success. I'm your host, Ashley Owens. I'm here with Kirsten Toler of KMT Consulting. She's telling us all about the fun things she used to do, and during the break, we're just talking about how much we used to hate working for people. So, on that note, I want to hear. Okay, so I interview a lot of wonderful business professionals. One of the things I always ask, especially my people who have, who are in very heavily saturated markets. I have a CPA, and I've worked with CPAs before, and I've worked with financial advisors before, and sometimes they're very, very dry, and it's a little aggressive to try to get some things out of them. I've never met anybody like you in that space.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome, and please, I mean it with the utmost respect. How do you personally stand out in a heavily saturated market with a very sensitive topic that could potentially be boring? You know, so how do you make it so that your clients understand that you not only help them with their taxes, but really help them with their businesses all around?
Right. So I think it's just easier for me to be who I am.
Yeah.
But I am definitely a nerd.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing that my clients have told me, and I guess it's just something that I cultivated over the years of working with small businesses one-on-one. So I like to joke with my clients that I'm in their underwear drawer.
I know, I loved when you said that.
I am all up in your business.
Wait, we're gonna say that again, and I wanna not laugh, so you can use this as a soundbite later. Okay. Please repeat it.
I am in your underwear drawer. Facts. Because
making that into a meme.
if you think about it, I know your kids, I know your social, I know where you work, I know if you got fired, I know what investments you have, I know if Aunt Bertha gave you like a horse farm. I know everything.
So weirdly specific.
Right? But that's how it is.
Right.
But the one thing that I learned after working with small businesses over the years is that the way that you retain clients is that you show them that you're a human being who values that intimacy. Mm-hmm. I will never betray a client. I will never share anything personal that belongs to a client. My husband, I'll be working like crazy during tax season, and I'll rattle off a client, and he's like, are they still working at so-and-so? And I'm like, I think so. And he goes, didn't you just do their tax return? I'm like, bitch, you know I can't tell you this stuff. You know I can't tell you this stuff. And he just kind of smiled.
The owner of the TV station just walked past and just started laughing. So it's my show. Been here long enough. You can say whatever you want.
But my husband's in healthcare.
Yeah.
So he understands that, there's HIPAA, right, in healthcare.
Yes.
So when he talks to me about patients that he deals with, he can't tell me their business.
Right,
But he might tell me an anecdotal story because he's had some crazy experience, right?
Right.
I can kind of do the same.
That's so incredible, though. But I love the analogy, and I think that needs to be your tagline and your LinkedIn profile. It's like, I'm in your underwear, man. And
not every client will want to work with me because of that.
Agreed. Not every client wants to work with me because I have a trash brain half the time. But you make it, the beautiful part about running your own business, though, is that you have the ability, the privilege to be able to pick your clients. Not always, but most of the time, if you want to work in an area where your reputation is the most valuable thing. I love that analogy because it's funny, what cracks me up, but it's going to be the first thing I remember about you because you build that engagement with your clients that's incredibly intimate, but also allows them to feel comfortable and to build the know, the like, and the trust factor with you, because you're either being self-deprecating, cracking up about a horse farm, or just making people feel comfortable with something that can be very, very uncomfortable.
Right.
With that style of how you communicate with your clients, I'm sure it crosses over to how you communicate networking-wise. So take me through, with this business that you have, as well as you being a personal business owner and then working with other business owners to network and help them, what is your style like? Because we talked about being in theater before, which means that we are fearless and know how to take rejection and getting punched in the face, like we understand it. I'd love to hear your advice for somebody who's also in your industry, how to network. So it's kind of like a twofold question. How do you network, and then what advice would you give?
So I'm a unicorn.
I love that.
I had a colleague tell me that recently, and it's 100% true. My background is not like everyone else in public accounting. I started out in public like everyone else who comes out of college, who's a decent student. Ended up leaving public accounting because it just wasn't really at that time in my career what I thought I was meant to do. And I wanted to do other things. I ended up working for some very large companies, and my company kind of evolved by accident, right, which I shared. But over the years, I realized that all the experiences that I gleaned, I was in consulting for 10 years. Yeah. All of the experiences that I gleaned with all the different clients that I worked with, and also with all the different people that I worked with, it just cultivated this unique spirit professionally that I have. And rather than trying to fit that into something, I'm honored that I have the ability to just kind of let my freak flag fly and do my own thing at the pace that I normally do it, and I find that it's attracting a lot of really positive results. Emotional intelligence is sorely lacking in my profession, sorely lacking. From how firms necessarily run things. There are some wonderful firms out there that really are very good to their people. In public accounting, your people are your asset. You're not building widgets, you're producing something. So it's incredibly important that emotional intelligence be a pillar of that. And I carry that and I promote that, and that to me is how I network, For me, it's about the relationship. If I can't know, love, and trust you, I don't want to do business with you. Right. And it's not a knock on you. Maybe I'm not your cup of tea either. Totally okay with that. But I'm finding more and more that the people that I network with, the small business owners that I network with, the people that we network with together, there's a very similar vibe out there right now where people are very much in tune with being a good emotional barometer and kind of putting that energy out so that people know, love, and trust them.
And there's a commonality now because of the year that everyone's been through. So that commonality provides empathy, which allows you to engage in a way that's different than what you typically would do at a networking event or a call.
Right.
I love how you put that, and that emotional intelligence is so important, so much so that I actually run a DISC assessment against my clients and then put their activities. Anyway, point is, I value the fact that emotional intelligence is something that you really, really cater to. With that being said then, when you are connecting with somebody new, take me through your follow-up process, if you have one.
Okay.
Because again, CPAs, have a stigma attached to it, and I would love for you to give advice to somebody who's in your industry who's like, I was in theater, I like death metal, and I just want to hang out with people and not be weird.
Well, you're my people, first of all.
Right.
Call me.
Right.
Immediately.
But like someone who's a little bit, askew from what the typical, person, talk to them. What advice would you give them?
I would say that, first of all, if that's who you authentically are, connect with people one-on-one, do a phone call, do a Zoom, right? Used to be you could go grab coffee with people. We'll get back there.
Getting there.
But in the meantime, sometimes just picking up the phone and making the time to talk to somebody for 15, 20 minutes. I know immediately when someone has asked for my time and we set a 15-minute phone call, I know within a minute whether they're trying to hard sell me or not. And I will tell you right now, I am not a hard seller. I want to know you. I want to hear about what you do. I want to, as if I was your CPA, I want to understand you. Why'd you start your business? What makes it interesting to you? Are you comfortable? Like, is it monetizing well? How can I help you? Who can I connect you to? And I'm going to be listening constantly to hear how I can do that. I learned from some really key individuals over the last 3 years just what it means to connect with people. And it's basically service without expectation. Yeah. Do you know Kurt Fulcher? Everybody knows Kurt Fulcher. He has, hey Kurt, he has actually, he has said that phrase so many times, and I have been in networking groups with him, and we actually I helped him. I was one of the founding members of a group that he did in Philadelphia. Wow. And he kind of comes across as it's service without expectation. Mm-hmm. I don't expect you to give me a thing.
Yep.
But how can I connect you? Mm-hmm. Because the minute that we form that connection, and the minute that I'm able to make a meaningful connection for you, then you and I are connected. And I'm not going to make a crappy connection for somebody because it's a reflection of me. And if I've had a conversation with you and I'm like, you know what, I really dig you. Like I like where you're going. I like your sincerity. I like how genuine you are. I want to do something for you. Yeah. That's my nature.
That's a networking equity that you're building. And I love the fact that you brought that up, because that's something that we talk about all the time in the show, and how eloquently you put it is so beautiful, and how on really driving that message home. The service without expectation is the basic foundation of what networking is. And if you start there, everything else will follow. Mm-hmm. I gotta talk to you after the show, but
I'm here.
I'm just letting you know. I find it so interesting, the drivers that make people make decisions. Mm-hmm. And I find it so interesting that there are people out there that are doing, they are doing something similar to like what I'm doing, to what you're doing, to what Kurt's doing, whatever it may be, and they have such a difficult way of communicating their value because they're either insecure about their business, or they're not communicating it the right way, or they're hard selling you on something.
And that's awkward.
Which is awkward, right? Mm-hmm. And so tell people, especially again, because you're going to be you're going to be chatting with, let's say, insurance people, real estate people, who are notoriously used, big sellers in that space. Not bad, but just in general. How would you suggest people pivot that conversation with somebody who doesn't understand necessarily the meaning behind of a good networking conversation?
I think a lot of it comes down to your person. Yes. So not everybody is comfortable having small talk with somebody. Not everybody is comfortable being in a space where they are going to start a conversation with someone without a purpose. Mm-hmm. Someone who's coming in to hard sell me, it's no knock on them, but that's how they function. They're going in, they have a very specific purpose in mind for the phone call. They want to be as effective and as efficient as possible. And that's not how I operate. And it almost feels like you have to be able to feel out the conversation a little bit. Mm-hmm. But you also have to know who you are. You have to be able to really know who you are. And that takes practice. Yeah. It's hard. It's
trial and error.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard for me to talk about myself. Yeah. I'm not a shy person, clearly, but I think someone once said I was an introverted extrovert. I enjoy being by myself. I could sit in my backyard to read on a nice day for hours. I don't want anybody to bother me. It's actually one of my favorite things. Yeah. But at the same time, I love to be with others, and I love to talk to people, and I'm happiest when I'm doing that. But that's who I am. And I've had to identify that, and it takes a while. And a small business owner is almost forced to do that very quickly, because you need to be able to give that elevator speech, right? We're on all these Zoom networking calls, and everybody's got their 30 seconds where they've got to talk about, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I sell this, and this is where you can reach me. You can see the people that are very uncomfortable in that space, and you can see the people that are comfortable in that space. There's someone that started networking with me through the group that I was in with Kurt, and I won't mention his name, but he's lovely. And when he first started out, you could tell how green he was. He came into the room. He was, kind of crafting, his speech and his message.
Good for him.
Now, he runs his own networking group. Like he's comfortable in his skin, and it's so much more apparent.
Isn't it interesting to see the path of somebody take it? All they need to do is just let me just run through it. Let me just get it out, figure it out as I go,
practice.
And then practice. Exactly. Mm-hmm. We are out of time.
All good.
Isn't that the worst? Do me a favor. Love your face. Do me a favor. Look at that camera and tell people how they can find you and connect with you.
The best way to connect with me is through email. And my email is kirsten@kmtconsultingllc.com. I also am in the process of having my website revamped. So more to come on that. It's basically under construction. But we're always on. So my email is really the best way to reach me. I'm happy to talk to anyone at any time. Doesn't matter if you're a client or not.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you.
today. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Connect to Success show with my show, Pony of a Face, whatever. What's my name? Ashley Owens. I'm a personal networking concierge. I'm here to help you navigate through tactical tips and practical takeaways in networking. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can reach out to me at ashley@ashleysist.com. If you have got a friend who wants to come on the show and talk about theater and death metal, please bring him on, because this is a perfect guest for me, because I can chat about everything and everything else. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you next week.